You know that feeling, right? Sitting around waiting for medical results. The scan itself might have been super quick, but the waiting, man, that can feel like it takes forever. Well, it turns out that wait has a name, and figuring out how to shorten it is a huge deal in healthcare today. Let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on with that ticking clock.
Exactly. This is the question we all ask. The scan's done in like 15 minutes, but then nothing. You're just waiting. So what's the holdup? Is someone just behind on their paperwork? Well, as you're about to see, the real story is way more interesting and complicated than that.
So, in the medical world, there's an official term for this whole waiting game. It's called turnaround time, or just TAT for short. And believe it or not, this one little measurement says a ton about how well a hospital is running and really how good the patient care is.
Okay, so why are we so focused on this clock? I mean, a little waiting is just part of life, right? Well, it turns out that a slow turnaround time isn't just you being inconvenienced. It actually causes some serious real-world problems that ripple through the entire hospital.
And this isn't just theoretical. A delay in getting a scan result, that can easily mean a patient has to stay in the hospital an extra day, which costs a fortune. For someone who's really sick, that same delay could mean waiting to start treatment that could literally save their life. And that overcrowding you always hear about in the ER, slow TAT is a huge piece of that puzzle. So this is way more than just being impatient. It's about health, money, and making the whole system work better. All right, but here's where things start to get, well, a little messy. If you want to make something faster, you first have to agree on how you're timing it. And it sounds simple, but defining when the clock for TAT actually starts and stops, that's a surprisingly huge debate. I mean, think about it. When does the clock really start? Is it the second the doctor orders the scan? Or maybe when you actually get on the table? And when does it stop? When the first draft of the report is done? Or only when it's totally final and signed off? As you can see, there are a bunch of different ways to measure it, and each one tells a slightly different story. But this complexity is actually the key to solving the problem. The American Association for Medical Imaging Management, or AHRA, makes a fantastic point. By breaking the whole process down into these smaller chunks, hospitals can finally see where the real logjams are. Is it getting patients from their room to the scanner, or is the bottleneck in the reading room? You can't fix what you can't measure, and this is how you start to measure it properly. And just to add one more layer here, you can't have one TAT goal for everything. It just doesn't work that way. The turnaround time for a routine X-ray for a sore ankle is going to be totally different from a life or death CT scan for a possible stroke patient in the ER. The urgency, the type of scan, the machine being used, all of it changes the target. So, with all that complexity, how on earth are hospitals actually making things faster? Well, they're not just guessing. They're using a playbook, a set of proven strategies to hunt down and crush these delays. Plan number one is pretty straightforward. Everyone needs to be on the same page. You have to set clear standards. Take the NHS in the UK, for example. They created national guidelines setting different time targets for different levels of urgency. But they also put in a hard limit. No matter what, no report should ever take more than 4 weeks. It creates a clear goalpost for everyone. Okay, play number two is really cool. It involves borrowing a genius idea from the world of car manufacturing, of all places. It's called lean methodology. The whole idea is to be absolutely obsessed with getting rid of waste. Any step, any delay, any redundancy that doesn't add direct value to the patient. So how does that look in a real hospital? Well, they use these tools like value stream mapping, where they literally draw out the entire process from start to finish to find the wasteful steps. They put together these things called Kaizen teams, where doctors, techs, and nurses all get in a room and brainstorm fixes. One hospital even set up a Kanban system, which is basically an alert that automatically calls for the next patient the second the scanner is free. It totally slashed their transport times. Now, play number three is a potential game changer, rethinking who reads what. The old way was general reporting, where radiologists might read a brain scan 1 minute and a knee scan the next. The new model is subspecialized reporting. Here, the neuroradiologist only reads brain scans. The ortho expert only reads bones. The idea is that this intense focus makes them not just better, but way, way faster. So that all sounds great in theory, but does any of this stuff actually work in the real world? Oh yeah, the data is in, and honestly, the results are pretty jaw-dropping. Check this out. This chart comes from a hospital in Switzerland, and it shows what happened the moment they switched to that subspecialized reporting model we just talked about. The box on the left is before, and the one on the right is after. You don't have to be a statistician to see that something massive just happened here. The whole game changed. So just how massive was that change? Get this. Their median turnaround time plummeted from over 17 hours down to just 3 hours and 38 minutes. That is a 4.7-fold improvement. 4.7. All from having the experts stick to what they know best. Incredible. And it's not just a one-off thing. A study in Oman tried a mix of these strategies: better training, clear procedures, smarter triage. Before they started, 88% of their reports were done on time. After their changes, that number jumped up to 95%. That's a solid, significant win. And you see these kinds of wins everywhere people try this. One hospital slashed its ER X-ray time from almost 24 minutes to under 15. Another used those lean ideas to cut the time it took just to get a patient to the X-ray machine in half, from about 23 minutes down to under 10. These are huge improvements that you can really feel. So it's pretty clear these strategies are working wonders. But you know how it is. The quest for getting better never really stops. So what's the next big thing when it comes to speeding up this clock? Well, I think the biggest lesson here is that this isn't a project with an end date. The hospitals that are really nailing this have built a culture of constant improvement. They're always measuring, always talking to each other, and always looking for that next smart idea. And a lot of people think that the next big idea is going to be artificial intelligence. I mean, just imagine AI tools that can scan the entire hospital's to-do list in a second and flag the most critical, life-threatening cases to go to the top of the pile. Or AI that helps write up the simple, normal reports, which would free up the human radiologist to focus on the really tricky stuff. And that really leaves us with one final exciting question. We've already seen turnaround times go from days to hours, and now sometimes just minutes. So as our tech gets smarter and our workflows get even leaner, just how much more time can we shave off that clock? And what does a world with almost instant diagnoses really mean for the future of medicine?